Welcome. Check It Out with Jessica Lee. I have Vipul Samat, who is the Senior Director of Global Customer Success at Veritas. Welcome.
Hi. Yes, thanks, Jessica. Nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
I know Veritas is big into data security and data protection.
Correct.
A global company with a pretty good record. 97% of the Fortune 100 companies have your solutions in place?
They do. We're a great data security protection company based globally in all the major cities out there, and it's a great place to work.
Now you handle a pretty important part of customer success. So at Veritas, customer success includes like 5 different groups. You're in charge of what they call the business critical services.
Correct.
Yes.
So,
what does that mean?
So business critical services is really about providing a high touch level of customer intimacy for our customers. And so we're trusted advisors. We actually have what we call business critical advisors or account managers in our organization who are more like your CSMs. And we also have business critical engineers who are more like your customer success engineers. They play an important part in keeping our customers super happy with their implementation, their deployment, and really seeing the value out of what we deliver as far as, from a product perspective as well as our services.
Let's talk about the security and protection architecture of an organization for growth. I think a lot of companies do know they need to do the security and data protection, but planning for growth is often a challenge for organizations.
It is, and especially with small, medium enterprises, customers who really do not scale, so if they're not setting the foundation of their architecture and implementation correctly, as they grow the business, they're having to redesign and redeploy products and services. And so, having a good implementation strategy to begin with, making sure that you've got people trained on the products, helps really scale and build out a really good, robust solution longer term as, a company grows into from small, medium to, medium to large enterprise, right, or enterprise, as their business grows. So scalability and support from my organization helps them be successful in doing that.
I want to shift to the way you, motivate customer success managers. In some companies, you have renewal, you have technical support, renew, but you also sometimes own the expansion and growth of those accounts. So I'm curious, does customer success in your company also need to own that expansion and growth, and why not?
Yeah, so in my company, we do not own the expansion of our products and services. However, I think it's a key component of being that trusted advisor for our customers, so we're not actually always in the sales cycle with a customer. The main aspect of the customer success manager function is really being that go-to person, that single point of contact, being that advocate for them, being someone who understands their business and understands how they can utilize a product in a way that it's going to benefit them with their outcomes.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because you want to give them the incentive to put the customer's interests first, right? And so I understand what you're saying. I think that's good. Now, when you recruit for these customer success managers, what do you look for in making sure you bring in the right talent with the right attitude and right behaviors?
I think definitely having part of those soft skills, relationship skills with customers is super important. Understanding the technology is important as well at a high level. Understanding, when I say be the CEO, be that CEO, right? So if you're having the aptitude of someone who is super intimate with a customer and the company, you understand what their business objectives are, and you understand the background of, what business that customer is actually in, what the industry is like, and being entrenched, if you like, in that customer, being that extended team member with that customer is a key part of being successful and building that relationship. So what I also look for is having those skills where you can grow, you know? So some of the things that I look at is how do you make sure that from a leadership perspective that I'm transparent around where we are as a business, where we're going, where are we, you know, what's important for us as a business, and how do we ensure that we're mapping that towards, you know, what the customer expects. So having a clear set of expectations is important in moving the needle with our customers.
And how do you put in the coaching and the mentoring as a ongoing regular cadence?
So I think it's very important to be on the same page with your employees, whether it's your, you know, directors or managers or CSMs, around, you know, goals and objectives, and putting that in place and meeting on that on a regular basis. So if we're looking at trends, for example, where you know, we're losing accounts, why is that? Is that a gap because it's just the industry, or is it a gap because our CSMs aren't trained up enough? You know, so how do we help coach and mentor you know, our folks to be the best that they can be?
Yeah, because I think security is evolving so fast. You know, it's always like new tools, new challenges, new ways for both sides to protect and to break into. It's like this ongoing battle.
Right. Yeah. Employee success, I think, you know, whether it's my organization or the customer and their employees, you know, is key. So I think, you know, having up-to-date training, you know, ensuring that we're bridging any gaps, whether it's soft skills or even high-level technical skills for our CSMs, is important, because you really need to make sure that we're in tune with what our behaviors are, you know, and how do we bridge those behaviors and hone in on the really good behaviors, right? And having that relationship is the foundation of being a good trusted advisor for a CSM.
After you get a customer sign up and they need to now be onboarded and trained and educated, all of that, you must have a guideline for your CSM. What is that flow?
So we actually, as soon as the customer onboards, we do a kickoff meeting with the customer as introductions. Typically it's face-to-face with the CSM and the sponsors of the program from a customer end. And it ranges from a CIO to the sysadmins. And so that's really getting everyone on the same page. We discuss their key outcomes that they're looking for from the program, and how we're going to deliver the expectations around what we are providing as a service. So that's one checkpoint at the very beginning of onboarding. We then go into continuous meetings with our customers, and I think it's very important. We do this at Veritas is we go and visit customers on a regular basis to make sure that we are seeing them face to face, understanding where they're coming from, and actually looking at some of their implementations live. It's important for our CSMs to understand what the business needs are for that customer, and so keeping in tune with that throughout the course of the relationship is pretty important when we look at it from a Veritas customer success perspective. It keeps us on track, and it actually helps us have more seamless renewals.
Okay.
So that's one of the great things about being in tune with our customers on a regular basis.
But this is really for the enterprise customer segment. I mean, you're not saying this is the way to do for all clients.
Not for all clients. I think, you know, the services that my organization provides is focused on the enterprise space. Okay. You know, and it may not be as feasible for your smaller customers.
Getting customer feedback is critical for not only you, but like feeding to the engineering team too, right? So how do you engage with them to get those insights? Really
good question. So what we typically do is the CSMs, and sometimes our CSEs or BCEs, get on the phone on a regular basis at least once every week, or sometimes every 2 weeks, depending on what the customer needs are, and checking in and seeing how things are going, you know, what is happening in their world for that week, anything critical happening, any maintenance windows. We also have recently implemented a feedback survey. One is just after kickoff, so to make sure that we actually have their KPIs and objectives outlined correctly and was it successful and what have you. We're also doing a 6-month survey and an 8-month survey. That also includes an NPS score at the 8-month survey. So having that continuous feedback and relationship continues to evolve. That helps really build that relationship with the customer and make sure that we're on track. And things are seamless.
And do you find that majority of them do respond back?
Yes. So, I think the really good thing is I've actually visited customers myself, and they do appreciate the fact that you have a leader coming out to visit them, and when it comes back to surveys, I always remind them. I say, hey, don't forget, complete our surveys for us, because it's an important metric that we measure as far as how we're doing and how our BCAMs are doing, and
how you can be better for them.
Right,
so
exactly.
it's for their benefit to respond.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, wonderful. It's been a great conversation, Vipul. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks, Jessica. I really appreciate it.
There you have it, folks. Take it up with Jessica Lee, Vipul Samat from Veritas.